Myself Dr. Hemakumar. In this session, I will be discussing about basic concept of OOPS, its benefits and applications of OOPS. Object-oriented programming. In this, the program is written as a collection of classes and objects which are meant for the communication. This OOPS concept is the smallest and basic entity is an object and all kind of computation is performed on the object only. The more emphasis is on the data rather than procedure is given in OOPS concept. OOPS concept can handle almost all kind of real life problems which are in today's scenarios. The advantages of using an OOPS concept is that we can maintain the data security, inheritance, code reusability, flexibility, and abstraction is also present. The major differences between procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming are like this. In the procedure-oriented programming, the program is divided into smaller parts called functions. In OOPS concept, program is divided into parts called objects. In POP, the important is not given to data but to the function as well as sequence of action to be done. In the OOPS concept, importance is given to the data rather than procedure or function because it works as a real world. Procedure-oriented programming follow the top-down approaches, whereas OOPS concept follow the bottom-up approaches. In a procedure-oriented, it does not have any access specifier, but in OOPS concept, there are access specifier, namely public, private, protect, etc. In a procedure-oriented, data can move freely from function to function in the system, but in the object can move and communicate with each other through member function only. In procedure-oriented, to add a new data and function in a is not so easy. But in OOPS concept, it provides an easy way to add new data and functions. In procedure-oriented, most functions uses global data for the sharing that can be accessed freely from function to function in the system. But in the OOPS concept, data cannot move easily from function to function. It can be kept public or private so we can control the access of data. In procedure, it does not have any proper way for hiding data, so it is less secure. But in OOPS concept, provide data hiding, so provide more security. In a procedure-oriented, overloading is not possible. But in OOPS concept, overloading is possible in the form of function overloading and operator overloading. Examples of the procedure-oriented programming languages are like C, Visual Basic, Fortran, Pascal, etc. And example of object-oriented programming are C++, Java, VB.NET, and C#.NET. Benefits of OOPS concept in C++ are principles or features of OOPS concept in C++ are first one is encapsulation, then data abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, dynamic binding, message passing, easy maintenance. Encapsulation means wrapping of data and functions together as a single unit is known as encapsulation. By default, data is not accessible to outside world and they are only accessible through the functions which are wrapped in a class. Prevention of data direct access by program is called data hiding or information hiding. Data abstraction means the abstraction refers to the act of representing essential features without including the background details or explanation. Classes use the concept of abstraction and are defined as a list of attributes such as size, weight, cost, and functions to operate on those attributes. They, they encapsulate all essential properties of the object that are to be created. The attributes are called as data members as they hold data, and functions which operate on the data are called as member functions. Here the class use the concept of data abstraction, so they are called as abstract data type. The polymorphism. The polymorphism comes from Greek word poly and morphism. Poly means many and many forms, and morphism means forms, that is many forms. Polymorphism means the ability to take more than one form. For example, an operation have different behavior in different instance. The behavior depends upon the type of data used in the operations. Different ways of achieving polymorphism in C++ programs can be done using function overloading technique and operator overloading techniques. Inheritance. Inheritance is the process by which one object can acquire the property of another. Inheritance is the most promising concept of OOPS, which helps realizing the goal of the construction software from reusable parts rather than hand coding even every system for scratch. Inheritance not only support reuse across systems but also directly facilitate extendability within a system. Inheritance coupled with polymorphism and dynamic binding minimize the amount of existing code to be modified while enhancing a system. When the class child inherits the class parent, the class child is referred to as a derived class, subclass, and call parent, a class parent as a base class, it is called as a superclass. In this case, the class child has two parents, two parts, that is derived part and an incremental part. The derived part is inherited from the class parent. The incremental part is the new code written specifically for the child class. Dynamic binding. It means binding refers to the linking of procedures called to the code to be executed in response to the call. Dynamic binding or later binding means that code associated with a given procedure call in not known until the time of the call at the runtime. Message passing is that an object-oriented program consists of set of objects that communicate with each other. Objects communicate with each other by sending and receiving information. A message for an object is a request for execution of a procedure and therefore invoke the function that is called for an object and generate result. Easy maintenance. OOPS modular structure and code reusability simplify the process of updating and maintaining softwares. Applications of OOPS in C++. User interface design. First use. The OOPS principles are widely used in developing graphical user interface for various applications. Real-time applications. The OOPS helps in designing and implementing complex real-time systems where precious timing and resource management are crucial. Simulation and modeling. OOPS is well suited for creating simulation models for various systems such as traffic, financial marketing, physical system, etc. Object-oriented database. OOPS concepts are used in designing and implementing database that store and manage complex data structure. C++ is also used in CAD and CAM system. OOPS is used in computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacturing system for designing and manufacturing products. Game development. C++ and OOPS are heavily used in game development for creating game logic, rendering, and managing game objects. Professional applications. C++ is a favor in performing critical applications including scientific computing where OOPS helps manage complex computation and data structures. Thank you.